Have you ever sent a message at work and later thought, maybe that sounded a little rude? Or maybe you've told your coworker, I do this, and then wondered, oh no, that didn't sound polite enough. You see, it's not just what you say that matters, it's how you say it. In the world of work, English isn't only about grammar or vocabulary, it's about tone, respect, and professional politeness. And today, I'll show you how just a few words can change your tone from rude to respectful, from casual to professional, and from basic English to fluent English for success. Welcome back to your English buddy, your best friend for mastering confident, natural English. So grab your notepad, because today we're going to fix one of the biggest problems English learners face at work, sounding polite, clear, and professional. Let's start with this simple truth. The difference between rude English and polite English is often just one word. For example, send me the report becomes, could you please send me the report? One small change, but a huge difference in tone. So today, I'll teach you how to sound polite in emails, meetings, and calls, the secret words that make your English sound more professional, and how to correct common workplace mistakes that make you sound too direct or even rude. By the end of this video, you'll speak English that's not just correct, but confident, respectful, and ready for the workplace. Let's begin. All right, let's start with something simple. The tone of your sentence can change the way people see you at work. In English, being polite doesn't mean being weak. It means being smart, because polite people are easier to work with, and everyone listens to those who speak with respect. So let's begin with some common workplace sentences, and see how we can make them sound more polite and professional. Send me the report. Sounds too direct, right? Now try. Could you please send me the report? It's softer, more respectful. You can also say, would you mind sending me the report when you have a moment? This version shows you respect the other person's time, perfect for emails or chat at work. When you replace commands like do this or give me that with requests like could you, would you mind, or can you please, your English instantly sounds more professional. Now imagine you need help. Help me with this. That sounds like an order. But if you say, could you give me a hand with this? Or, I'd really appreciate your help with this, it becomes polite and friendly. Each polite sentence has two key ingredients, softness and gratitude. Now, what if someone hasn't replied to your message? You didn't reply to my email. That sounds like you're blaming them. But if you say, I just wanted to follow up on my previous email, or I wanted to check if you had a chance to look at my last message, it sounds respectful and gentle. Never accuse. Always remind politely. Now imagine you need something urgently. I need it now. Strong but harsh. Instead say, is there any chance you could send it to me today? Or it would be great if I could have it by this afternoon. You're saying the same thing, but without pressure. That's what real professional English is about, clarity with kindness. What if you disagree with someone? You're wrong. Ouch, that's direct, too direct. Instead say, I see your point, but I think there might be another way to look at it. Or, that's an interesting idea. Maybe we could also consider this option. This is one of the most powerful skills in English, disagreeing without sounding rude. Because in professional communication, tone matters more than logic. If your tone is polite, even disagreement sounds like teamwork. You've seen how small changes, just one or two words, can turn any sentence from rude to respectful. But being polite in English isn't only about using words like please or thank you, it's about attitude. It's about showing that you value other people's time, opinions, and work. And the magic happens when your tone, your words, and your attitude all speak the same language, the language of respect. Now let's take this one step further. We've talked about how small changes can make your English sound polite, but there's something even more powerful, the words you choose. Native speakers often use what I like to call soft power words. These words don't change the meaning much, but they completely change the tone. Let's start with a few examples. Instead of saying I think, try saying I believe or it seems to me. I believe this is a good idea. Sounds calmer and more thoughtful than I think this is a good idea. Instead of you should do this, say maybe we could try this or it might be a good idea to. You're not giving orders. You're offering suggestions. That's the language of professionals. And instead of "that's wrong," you can say, "I'm not sure that would work," or "perhaps we can take another approach." It's soft yet clear. You're still expressing your point, but without hurting anyone's confidence. Here's another magic word, actually. But be careful. If you say, "Actually, that's not right," it might sound a bit rude. However, if you say, "Actually, I was thinking maybe we could do it this way," it sounds polite and balanced. So it's not the word itself, and it's how you use it. Now let's talk about one of the most underrated words in English, just. When you say, "I just wanted to ask," or "I just wanted to check," like you make your sentence sound softer, less demanding. You're showing you respect the other person's time. For example, instead of, "I want an update," say, "I just wanted to check if there's any update on that." Same message, completely different tone. There's another word that shows real professionalism, appreciate. Instead of saying, "I need this by today," you can say, "I'd really appreciate it if you could send this by today." It's polite, warm, and grateful, and people respond better when they feel respected. Even in tough situations. When things go wrong, politeness protects you. Let's say someone made a mistake. Instead of, "You didn't do this correctly," try, "There seems to be a small issue here. Let's fix it together." The word "together" instantly changes the energy. Now it's not about blame. It's about teamwork. You see, politeness is not only about being nice, and it's a professional skill. When you speak politely, people trust you more. They feel safe around you. They're more open to your ideas. And that's why native speakers always sound confident at work, because their words carry both clarity and kindness. Now I want you to imagine this. You're sitting in a meeting. Your manager asks for feedback on a project. You don't completely agree with the idea, but you don't want to sound negative. What do you say? You could say, "That's an interesting approach. Maybe we can also look at it from another angle." Perfectly polite, perfectly professional. Or imagine your colleague is late in sending you data. You're frustrated, but instead of saying, "You're late again," you say, "I just wanted to follow up to see if there's any update on the data." You've expressed your concern without creating tension. That's the beauty of polite English. It helps you communicate clearly while keeping relationships positive. And when you start speaking this way every day, something powerful happens. People begin to see you differently. They see you as mature, respectful, and capable of leadership. Professional English isn't about complicated words. It's about balance. You don't have to sound overly formal like a robot, and you don't have to sound too casual like a friend. Find the middle ground, polite but natural. Coming up next, we'll explore how to use everything you've learned in real-life workplace situations. How to talk to your boss, your colleague, and your client, and sound perfectly polite and confident in every situation. Let's continue. Let's see how polite English sounds in real life. Because knowing polite phrases is one thing, but using them naturally in real conversations, that's where true fluency begins. Imagine this first situation. You're talking to your colleague. You need a report and it's already late. You say, "Hey, where's the report? I told you I need it today." It's short, it's clear, but it sounds impatient. Now listen to this version. "Hey, I just wanted to check if the report is ready. We'll need it for the meeting later today." Same message, completely different feeling. In the first version, you sound frustrated. In the second, you sound responsible. Politeness changes everything. Let's take another one. Your boss walks in and says, "Can you stay late tonight?" You're tired, but you don't want to sound rude. You could say, "No, I can't." That's honest, but too direct. Instead, say, "I'd really like to help, but I already have a commitment tonight. Would it be okay if I work on it first thing in the morning?" Now you've said no, politely, respectfully, and still professionally. That's how polite English helps you set boundaries without sounding difficult. Now imagine a different scene. You're giving feedback to someone from your team. Their presentation wasn't very good. You could say your slides were bad, but that would crush their confidence. Instead, say, "I liked how you started your presentation. It had a good flow. Maybe next time we could add a few more visuals to make it more engaging." Notice what happened there? You began with something positive. Then you gave your suggestions softly. That's how leaders speak. Politeness doesn't mean hiding the truth. It means sharing it with kindness. Let's go to another common moment, when you need to interrupt someone in a meeting. Imagine someone's been talking for too long and you need to add your point. You could say, let me speak. That's direct and a little harsh. Instead, say, sorry to interrupt, may I add something here? Polite, professional, and you've made your point without creating tension. Now let's move to emails, one of the trickiest parts of polite English. Imagine you're writing to your manager. You could start with, I need your approval. That's strong. Instead, write, I'd appreciate it if you could please approve the document at your convenience. You've asked for the same thing, but your tone shows respect. At the end of your email, instead of saying reply soon, say looking forward to your response. It sounds warm and professional, and when you're thanking someone, don't just say thanks. Try thank you for your time or I really appreciate your help with this. Those little touches make a huge difference. Let's now imagine a phone call with a client. They're late on payment and you need to remind them. You could say, you haven't paid yet. That sounds accusing. But you could say, I just wanted to remind you that the payment is still pending. Could you please confirm when we might expect it? Same meaning. Different tone. Professional, calm, respectful. Polite English doesn't make you sound weak. It makes you sound controlled. You become the kind of person who handles every situation with confidence, even in tense moments, like when someone blames you for something you didn't do. You can keep your politeness as your strength. You could say, that wasn't my responsibility, or instead, I understand your concern. I believe this task was handled by another department, but I can check for you. Now you've protected yourself, kept your professionalism, and avoided conflict. It's amazing how much energy your words carry. In every workplace, communication decides how people see you. If you sound polite and composed, people assume you're confident, even if you're still learning. Now imagine one final moment. You're leaving work, and your colleague helped you finish a task. You could just say, thanks. But imagine saying, thanks for staying late to help me out today. I really appreciate it. That small sentence can build real trust. Politeness builds bridges, and those bridges become your biggest advantage at work. So the next time you speak to your boss, your colleague, or your client, remember, your words are your image. Be clear, be kind, be polite, and you'll never have to worry about sounding unprofessional again. Coming up next, we'll move into the final part of this video, how to train yourself to sound naturally polite in every English conversation, so you don't have to think about it. It simply becomes your habit. Let's continue. Now that you know how polite English sounds, let's talk about how you can make it your habit. Because learning polite phrases is easy, but speaking them without thinking, and that's real fluency, it starts with awareness. For the next few days, just listen to how you talk. Notice the small things. When you say what? Could it be, sorry, could you repeat that? When you say wait, could it be just a moment, please? Every time you catch yourself sounding too direct, pause and rephrase. That pause is where transformation happens. Next, write your own polite sentence list. 10 sentences you often use at work or with friends, then rewrite them politely. Keep that list on your phone or desk, because when you see polite English daily, it starts living in your mind. For example, instead of saying, send me that file, say, could you please send me that file when you have a moment? Instead of you're wrong, say, I see your point, but maybe we could look at it this way. Little by little, your tone changes, and people start responding differently. Now let's add practice. You don't need a partner. You just need a mirror. Stand there, look at yourself, and imagine you're talking to your boss or a client or a colleague. Record yourself saying polite sentences. Then listen. Ask yourself, do I sound confident or robotic? Politeness is not about sounding soft. It's about sounding respectful and strong. You can also train your ears. Watch interviews, podcasts, or TED Talks. Notice how speakers handle disagreement politely. They don't rush. They breathe. They use tone and words that invite respect, not resistance. And when you text or email, slow down. Before hitting send, read your message once more. Ask, does this sound polite? Just that one question will completely change how people see you. Over time, polite English will become your second nature. It won't feel forced. You'll start using it naturally, in the office, on calls, in messages, everywhere. And here's the most beautiful part. The more polite you sound, the more confident you feel. Because politeness isn't about fear. It's about control. When your words are calm and kind, you control the room. People listen, people trust you. And that's where true communication power begins. So, from today, speak with confidence, listen with patience, and choose your words with grace. Because language doesn't just show how fluent you are, it shows who you are. Be polite. Be powerful. And let your English speak for the best version of you.